Mhm. Okay, sorry about that. So that's technology. You cannot rely 100%. So there is always glitches. Anyway, let's hope you can hear me now clear, loud and clear. I hope so. Okay, so before we dive into the actual text, I wanted to highlight the importance of setting up motivation, because there are new people, and for of course most of you this is just a repetition. So this is very important. That's why whenever we start a teaching, we always start with the refuge and generating bodhicitta, because our motivation decides what our action becomes. Whether our action becomes a virtuous one or non-virtuous one, or a dharma one or a non-dharma one, it all depends on our motivation. So if our motivation of, for instance, listening to dharma, like today tuning into YouTube, if we are only motivated by worldly concerns, such as I want to just gain knowledge so that I can share with other people, so that I can show that I am a scholar, or I can gain fame and name and people will praise me. So if we tune into online teachings, or even when we listen to teachings, if our motivation is only about this life, then it's just a waste of time. Yes, you can intellectually gain some knowledge, but that will not become a Dharma practice. So we have already discussed this before. In order for an action to become, or a deed to become, a Dharma practice or Dharma deed, minimum it must be motivated by a thought or concern for future life. Of course, the best is bodhicitta mind. So that's why we always recite this 4-line prayer. So this is not just a customary or some tradition. It is really to help us generate that kind of attitude when listening to Dharma. This is so important because we have many other important things, but we decided to commit that 1 hour or 2 hour listening to Dharma. But if our motivation is stained, then it would be a wasted time. So that's why every time when we begin a teaching, try to generate a bodhicitta. So the simplest way is to that I need to achieve enlightenment to help other sentient beings. So in order to do that, I need to practice. In order to practice, I need to understand how to practice. So for that reason, I am going to listen to this Dharma talk. So your main goal is to achieve enlightenment, to benefit other sentient beings. As a mean to arrive at your goal, now we are putting effort in listening to Dharma. So if we are able to generate that kind of attitude before each session, then whatever period, whatever time frame that we spend listening to Dharma becomes a Dharma practice. Not only Dharma practice, it also becomes a Mahayana practice. So that is very important. And also, just for the benefit of newcomers, so when we listen to Dharma, we need to abandon or eliminate what is called the three faults of these three types of vessels. So the first one is the vessel upturned vessel. So if you have a container that is upturned, then no matter how diligently you pour anything onto it, it will not go in. Likewise, even when we attend a teaching, so if we are not concentrated, if we are not really focused, then nothing will go in. And especially when you listen to a teaching with your already kind of preconceived idea about what that is. We need to listen to Dharma with open mind so that we can be able to soak in all that teaching. Otherwise, if you already have this preconceived idea or notion, and if you try to listen with that kind of attitude, what will happen is you will very quickly filter all the information. Whatever that fits your understanding, you will just take in. The rest you will just kind of ignore. So that's very dangerous. So when we listen, we have to listen with full attention. And then we have to listen. We have to eliminate the fault of the what is called the leaky vessel. So if the jar or if the container has a hole, then what happens is, if you let the tap run for 24 hours, it will never get filled up because it goes down from the hole. It pours out. It leaks out. So likewise, when we listen to Dharma, we should listen and then really keep that in mind. Most of the time, we come to Dharma classes, we listen there, from one ear we listen, and then we let out from the other. While in the class, you find, that's really good, yeah, that makes sense. And then when you get home, you let go all of that. And next week when you ask, what did we discuss in the last class? Cannot remember. It seemed like ages. So that's another fault. So we always remind ourselves, do revision. And when we go home, what did I learn today? What was discussed today? How can I apply this in my life? So that way we will be able to retain all that information, all that Dharma knowledge that we gained during the class. And then thirdly, what is called the stained vessel or the dirty vessel. If the container has some poison or something dirty in there, so if you try to pour in another drink or another water, that will pollute the clean one. So it is very important to listen with the unstained motivation, pure motivation, which we just discussed So the best is with the motivation of bodhicitta, not to gain fame and wealth and all that worldly concerns. So these are the three things. And on top of that, in Lamrim, it also talks about specific attitudes, how to listen to Dharma. The first one is we need to listen to Dharma with the attitude that we are patient, perceiving ourselves as patients. We are patient actually. We are suffering from chronic disease. We have this illness for eons and eons, life after life. We are unable to cure that sickness, that chronic sickness, chronic disease of three poisons: attachment, hatred, ignorance. So we need to listen with that kind of attitude that I am a patient. If we have that kind of attitude, then all the following attitude is easier to arise, easier to come by. The second attitude is to perceive, to view the teacher as a good doctor. So teacher is the one who shows or who first diagnosed, like Buddha. When Buddha taught us, when Buddha taught for the first time, Buddha made the diagnosis of our illness, why we are suffering. What are the suffering? What are the symptoms of our illness? And then what are the causes of suffering? And then Buddha prescribed medicines. Likewise, teachers are like doctors because they are here to help us cure of our this chronic disease. So when we listen to Dharma, it is good to view your teacher as an expert doctor. And then we also need to view Dharma as the medicine. That is very important. You may have a very good doctor who is able to correctly, unmistakably identify the causes of your suffering and who correctly diagnose our condition, our illness. But the actual cure, whether we really recover, whether we become better or not, depends on the medicine. So if we have this perception or this attitude that Dharma is the medicine, then we will practice. Because in order to cure, we need to take the pills. So that's why it is important to view Dharma as the medicine. And then we also should have this attitude that the cure will only come when we apply Dharma, when we practice Dharma. There is no other way. Memang sanshi pangba te langde neba tsowara juwe me sa menje male membe manye te neba rani kine neba yins. So if we fall sick, we will go to see a doctor. Let's say we are able to get a very experienced doctor and who correctly identifies the illnesses and then who prescribes all that the best medicine, and we are able to get that medicine. But if we do not take the medicines, no matter how good the doctor is, no matter how great the medicine is, no matter how expensive the medicine is, we will never recover from our illness. So likewise, if we don't practice, there is no other way. Buddha said that Ngegi kela tarbe lamdöngi taba rangla rale shibrajis. Buddha said that I have shown you the path. Whether you achieve nirvana or not, it is completely dependent on you practicing. That's what it says. So if we have these kind of attitudes when we listen to Dharma, then this will motivate us. This will propel us to really practice Dharma. So that's important. So this is not just for this session. Every time we attend a teaching, we should try to have all these attitudes. So now let's get into the text itself. So we are now at verse 96. Last week we talked about the importance of doing Tongling practice, and we have also covered how to do Tongling meditation, and I hope you have the opportunity to practice that in last week, in the past days. So after contemplating on various scenarios how self-cherishing attitude has caused all our sufferings, so we have then concluded that from now on, we have made this decision that from now on, I will only blame my self-cherishing attitude for all the sufferings and pains. And instead of blaming others for my misfortune, I will instead contemplate on their kindness, and then I will take upon all the discomforts and sufferings of others, and I will send forth my happiness, my joy, and my virtue. So that's what we talked last week. So now here it says, 대다르 조어 생기 고숨기 두숨기와 다기 랑바이 마자두기 동단 템바달 뇨모 chanju chonsu juwa shows. Thus, as I take on myself all negative deeds of others, committed through their 3 doors throughout all 3 times, so like a peacock that has colorful feathers because of poison, may the afflictions be transformed into factors of enlightenment. So this is now dedicating, making prayers now. So dedication is very, very important. So we have covered this in our preliminary practices. We talk about the 2 important things. Togdanyela chawani. So there are 2 important things, one at the beginning and one at the end of any Dharma practice. So that important deed in the beginning is, of course, the motivation, which we just talked about. And then at the end, it is the dedication. So it is very, very important to dedicate our merits, no matter whether it is a small a virtue or a big virtue. We have to dedicate that. So most of the time, what we do dedicate, we make prayers. After doing something virtue, after doing some Dharma practices, we dedicate our prayers. But for most of people, it is all about me and my relatives. It's all about this life. For example, we may dedicate our prayers to say that, may I have long life, may I have success in my career, may I get a good job, may my family have a healthy life, may my husband or wife have good health, may my children be happy and healthy, and may they do well in their studies. So that's most of us do that, and that's where we stop. So that's just worldly prayers. Whatever we have dedicated is for this life. So that is not enough. We need to dedicate our merits to become the cause of enlightenment. So if we fail to do that, whatever merit we have accumulated can be destroyed by anger. When Buddha talked about the immeasurable, unimaginable merits of doing prostrations, Buddha was asked, how then, if doing one prostration is so meritorious, then how come there are still innumerable sentient beings suffering? How come there are so many sentient beings still stuck in samsara? So the Buddha's answer is that, yes, even though such deeds are very meritorious, but because every now and then we lose our temper, we get angry. What happens is, when we get angry, that very instant, even just one instant of anger, the duration of the anger, the one instant, when we are angry even for one instant, it is set to destroy the merits that we have accumulated for eons. Not just one merit, all the merits that we accumulated over eons. Imagine that. Just one instant of anger. And how many instances were there in our life? How many times we get angry? And how long does one anger last? It is not one instant, isn't it? It lasts for a while, and you do the maths. So that's why it is very important. It is said that if we dedicate our merits properly, then anger cannot destroy our merits. And then that merit will keep reproducing the results. So it's that important to dedicate merits. So how do we do that? So the simple way is to dedicate, to say that whatever merit I have accumulated become the cause to achieve enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. Like today's merit, whatever merit I have achieved by attending or listening to Dharma, may that merit become a cause to become enlightenment, to achieve enlightenment. So if we do that, then we are dedicating properly. But after that you can add on all that if you want to. But most of the time we only prioritize all these worldly things, and then we forget to do the main important thing. So normally we dedicate, the first thing we dedicate our merit is towards the survival of Buddha Dharma. We always dedicate our merits that from this merit may Buddha Dharma live long. This is very important. It has significance, because from the Buddhist point of view, all the goodness, all the happiness, joy, and all the desirable things come from Buddha Dharma. Buddha Dharma is the source of all the all the goodness, all the good things, happiness, joy, good health, all that, because Buddha taught us how to refrain ourselves from negative actions and how to cultivate virtue. Because of that instruction, because of following that instruction, we are able to accumulate some virtue, and that's why we are reaping the positive results of our good action. So that's all we say, that because of Buddha Dharma. So because of that, it is very important for Buddha Dharma to live long. If Buddha Dharma lives long, there is this the practicing the practice of abandoning negative actions and cultivating virtuous actions will continue, and that will automatically result into happiness and joy. So that's why our first merit we should dedicate towards the longevity or the Buddha Dharma, to live long. And then the second one we normally dedicate towards the long life of all Dharma holders, like His Holiness Dalai Lama, like Sajjha Tenzin Rinpoche, like all those great teachers. Because the survival of Buddha Dharma actually depends on the Dharma holders. If all the great teachers leave us, then there is no Dharma. Slowly, Dharma will disappear. There will be no one to really teach us the path. So that's why it is important for Dharma holders to remain long in this world. So that's why we dedicate towards the long lives of Dharma holders. So here we are dedicating our merits, the merits from practicing the Tonglen. Thus, as I take on myself all the negative deeds of others, so we have, when we do that taking upon, we are taking upon all the negative, not only the results, but also the causes of all these sufferings of other sentient beings. Remember, we take upon us, and then it kind of dissolves into our self-cherishing attitude, and at the same time it destroys our self-cherishing attitude. So thus I take on the merits from taking upon ourselves all the negative deeds of others that were committed through the three doors, which is the body, speech, and mind, and also not only this lifetime, the ones that they have created through in the negative deeds that they have created in the past, in the future, and that's going to be created in the future as well. So like a peacock that has colorful feathers because of poison, remember we talked about this. I don't know whether this is a myth or it is a fact thing, that it is said that peacocks, they thrive on poison. The more they ingest, the more they consume poisons, their feathers become more attractive. So ordinarily, if you ingest poison, one would die. But peacock has some unique digestive system or whatever ability. The peacocks are able to use that poison use that peacock to make them look attractive. So they are able to transform something harmful to be useful to them. So this is what we are making here. So like a peacock that has colorful feathers because of poison, may the afflictions be transformed into factors of enlightenment. So even though we are taking upon the sufferings, not only sufferings, the causes of sufferings, the afflictive emotions, the afflictions of other sentient beings, ordinarily when we think of it, it is like it will destroy us, it will affect negatively. It will affect us negatively. But because of the bodhicitta mind, instead of causing us harm, it benefits us. This is what is called transforming unfavorable conditions into spiritual path. So that's how we do it. When we do with bodhicitta mind, we don't even feel pain or suffering. Instead, we feel so much joy. Remember, we talked about the importance of having meaning and purpose in our life. If we are able to see purpose and meaning in what we are doing, we don't feel exhausted from that. We don't feel dreadful to go to work. We will look forward to going to work. At the end of the day, when we come back, instead of like complaining and grumbling about, how hard the day was, how difficult the day was, what a bad day we had, instead we will rejoice. What a great day. I was able to fulfill the purpose. It was such a meaningful day. So this all depends on whether you see purpose or meaning in what we are doing. So when we have this, when we do this Tonglen practice, purely motivated by bodhicitta mind, purely wanting to achieve enlightenment, we will be very happy to do so. And then at the end, we will be able to dedicate that may all this become causes and facilitate enlightenment. Verse 97. Tagi geza dola chimbayi charo tosu mengi söbadar gewo yongi tabe sosungne teshi sanje nyutu tobar shows. As I offer my rules of virtue to sentient beings, like the crow that has consumed poison and is cured by its antidote, may I hold the lifeline of liberation of all beings and swiftly attain Buddhahood of one gone to bliss. The prayers continue. So here making another set of prayers. Here it's saying that, remember we talk about the crows, how the crow, if they consume poison, they normally die because they are not meant to consume poison. So here we are dedicating again our merit of taking upon us, actually our Tonglen practice, the merits that we have accumulated by practicing Tonglen. So we are dedicating this, that like the crow, if a crow consumes poison, and then of course it will fall sick. But if antidotes, if the cure is given, the crow may recover. So likewise we are saying that even though there are so many sentient beings who has no virtue at all, who has no dharma at all, so their lifeline to achieving nirvana or to achieving Buddhahood is like impossible. They have no dharma. The way they behave is all against dharma. So all the time they are engaging in negative actions. So when we engage physically, speech, by verbally and mentally, if we engage in negative actions, the result will be the three lower ends. Even if we are able to achieve human rebirth, it will be full of sufferings. So for these kind of people, these kind of sentient beings, it is if not impossible, it is very, very difficult to achieve nirvana or Buddhahood. So their lifeline to achieving liberation is at stake. So we are making this dedication that, whatever merits I have, may I hold the lifeline of liberations. So basically we are saying that may all these people whose lifeline are almost now breaking, they may be able to strengthen that lifeline and then eventually achieve Buddhahood. Tagi keza dola, okay. Namshi tada pamara gyurba nam womenesu chanchu mato bar dowa tudu legi kamnayang penzun chiksim chikin zimbarsho. Until all who have been my parents and I have attained full enlightenment in the Akanishta realm, as we wander through the 6 realms due to our karma, may we all hold each other in our hearts. So here Again, another dedication, making another prayers for all sentient beings to achieve enlightenment. So here the Akanishta Ram, in Tibetan we call it Wongmin. Wongmin is the Pure Land where all sentient beings achieve the enlightenment. When the time comes for us to achieve enlightenment, we have to born in this Pure Land, Wongmin, and in there we achieve enlightenment. So basically saying that basically we are dedicating all our merits for all the sentient beings to achieve enlightenment in the Akanishta Ram. Of course, achieving enlightenment, it takes time. So during that time, we still have to come back, we still have to wander in different realms. So while we are in the process, while we are working towards achieving enlightenment, we have to take various forms. So while we do that, while we are in samsara, so we are making prayers that may we all hold each other in our hearts. Basically saying that we all hold each other dearly. At the moment, we only hold dear certain people, certain group of people. We have these different categories. These are the people, my friends, my families. We put them in one category. And then we have another group of people whom you have difficulty with, or some people who have even caused us harm. So we label them as enemy or difficult people, and then we categorize them into another category. And then we have another group, those who are neither close to us nor distant to us, So these we label them as strangers, and then we put them into another category. And then when it comes to interaction, we have varying degrees of closeness to these three different categories. For people whom we categorize as our friends and family, we develop attachment. Those whom we consider as our enemy, we develop hatred. We develop aversion. And then those people whom we categorize as strangers, our attitude is indifference, neutral. Whatever happens to them, there is no much effect or no feeling. So here it is saying that may we be able to have this love, loving kindness. So this sense of endearment. So when it comes to developing compassion, remember one of the steps is developing this sense of endearment. Sometimes it's translated as loving compassion, but this is this kind of a love that a mother has for her only child. In Tibetan it's called yiwong gi chamba, yiwong. So you have this so strong, this sense of endearment. It is so dear, so precious, and you all the time wish that son has all the good things happening to them. You cannot even tolerate, you cannot even imagine a slightest discomfort happening to that person. So that's what is called Yungi Chamba. So whether you come through the 7 causes and 6 causes and 1 result approach, or whether when you come from the approach of equalizing and exchanging oneself with others, either way, these 2 approaches to develop compassion, the 2 means, no matter whichever direction you are coming from, they all converge. 2 of these converge at developing this sense of endearment, yung chamba. Because when you have this sense of endearment, then compassion arises. Because you cannot bear to see the other person suffer. So when this happens, you have this sincere, genuine wish to eliminate that pain and suffering. So this is what we're saying. If we have that kind of attitude, that would be so wonderful. So what we take away from this is to develop that, not just leave it to making prayers. Yes, we can make prayers. It has its own benefits. It will have its own results. But simply living to mere prayer will not result in significant consequences. So how do we do that? How do we develop that sense of endearment to all sentient beings? One way is to contemplate on the kindness of others. When we don't reflect in a deeper level, we feel that many people, most of the people, it looks like they don't play a role in my happiness. I have nothing to do with that person. But from this pandemic episode, we learned otherwise. It was not true. Somebody in China who works in a factory affects us. Somebody who produces, who works in a toilet paper factory plays a role. Remember how people fight over toilet paper rolls. So, if we really want to develop that kind of attitude to all sentient beings, we need to contemplate more on the other people's kindness and how interdependent we are. I remember watching one movie where the girl was killed by she is a drug addict, and someone kills the daughter, this girl, and then there was a accident. Aeroplane crashed. So when you look at these two incidents, it's unrelated. The aeroplane crashing and the girl dying from overdose. But they show the link this girl's father works in control room, the air control, flight's control room. And because he lost his daughter, he was affected badly. So he was not in his, not himself that day. He had difficulty sleeping. So because of that, he was not fully concentrated when he was working at the control tower. So because of his recklessness or carelessness, there was a crash and many people died. So I thought, when I saw that, oh, this is a really good point to illustrate how we are intertwined, how, what do you call it, intricacy, is it? How delicately, that interdependent relationship is. So there is a role of everybody's in our happiness. So it's just that, we haven't gained the insight. The more we contemplate, greater our gain or insight will be on how connected we are with other people. So the greater insight, we will be able to change our interaction, our attitude, the way we talk to them, the way we relate to them. So that's important. So we can first start within our family members. Let's not talk about, something outside there. First start with your family members. Your wife, your husband, your daughter, your sibling. How much they played a role in our survival. Then we will be able to see the interconnectedness. Then we will be able to improve our relationship, our interaction within one family. Then you can extend that to the next family. And then slowly at your workplace. And then to strangers, then to enemy. And then there will come a time where when you look at anyone, any person, you have this feeling that these are all, that is like all your how to put it, in Tibetan we call it yin, is like your relatives, your friends. Then everywhere you go, there's no fear, there's no distrust. One cause of our unhappiness is fear, distrust. So we are not sure. We are skeptical of other people. So when we're able to do something here, our attitude changes. Then, as I always mention, our sources of happiness multiplies. Everybody becomes your source of happiness. When good things happen to a stranger somewhere in India, you can rejoice and you can feel happy. And there is reason to be happy because we have taken bodhisattva vow. We have pledged to liberate all sentient beings. We have pledged and we have wished for all sentient beings to be happy. So when sentient beings are able to do that from their own, our job, our task is lessened. Our responsibility is lessened. So there is reason to rejoice and to be happy. And when we rejoice, it gives us happiness and joy. So you just look around and there's a lot of things to rejoice. A lot of sources of happiness. Okay? 99. Teze dowa chiki tuando yang nyanson sumdo tage yongshu ne semba chimbe choba manyambar nyanson tonye tage tongbar shows. During that period, even for the sake of only a single being, may I immerse myself in the three lower realms, and without compromising the contact of a great bodhisattva, may I relieve the sufferings of the lower realms. So this is basically generating this what you call the will to strive. So in order to achieve enlightenment, it is not something that we can achieve instantly, and it is not something we can obtain easily. We need to we need to engage in a lot of practice, and many of the Bodhisattva's practices are not easy. So sometimes we feel discouraged. So this is to encourage us to generate that kind of mindset that no matter how difficult it is, no matter what challenges I face, I will persevere. He says, during that period, even for the sake of only a single being, may I immerse myself in the three lower realms. So it's in Lama Choba. Simjen re re chiya narmebe mena kyaba kyazo negwe ingji mejo chanju chozunbe zunju parjin zopra chinjilo. So if it requires me to take births in lower realms for eons and eons just to save one sentient being, he says, I will do that. That is the mindset of Bodhisattvas. Bodhisattvas are willing to endure unimaginable hardship. So imagine just to save one sentient being, if the Bodhisattva is required to remain in hell realm for eons, their commitment is that, yes, I will do so. So for us, it is very difficult. Even spending 1 hour doing Dharma, reading Dharma books, or even trying to finish, even to do our commitments, the sadhanas, we don't have that kind of perseverance. Why? It is because that the laziness, the opponent of perseverance is laziness. So laziness prevents us from doing this. So from the Dharma, from in Lamrim text, especially I think it's from Shantideva text. So there are 3 types of laziness identified. So one is the procrastination. Of course, first is that you are not interested at all in doing these practices. That's completely different. So we are beyond that. We are interested in practicing Dharma, but we are unable to, or we fail to commit much time to this. So it could be 3 reasons. One is procrastination. We always defer to the next day, next month, next year. Oh yes, I need to do this, I need to practice, I need to do 100,000 prostrations, I need to do 100 practices, I need to study this, I need to read this. But then, I have something else now, so I will do that next month, I will do that next year. So we keep deferring, we keep delaying. That's procrastination. And another form of laziness is we are distracted by other things, other unimportant things, mainly worldly things. When it comes to making money and doing practice, many of us will choose making money. Or first I need to make money. First I need to make sure that I have enough resources. I have enough budget. After that, I will focus on my practice. But there's no guarantee. First of all, there's no guarantee that you can be able to make that whatever your goal, to reach that goal. I have a friend, and earlier when I met him, he wanted to retire, and he kept telling me that he wanted to make, I think his goal was like 2 million or something. After 2 million, if I make after 2 million, he said, I want to retire and focus my life on Dharma practice. And he was very successful. And then, 2-3 years later, his target has changed. Now no longer 2 million, it's like 5 million. Oh, I have to make 5 millions. After I reach 5 million, then I will stop work. So you see, our desire has no limit. The more you get, the more you want. So that's the second form of laziness. The third form of laziness is what is called Tanyila Nyevelelo. This is the no confidence, like aspiring to achieve, striving to achieve enlightenment. Oh, I cannot do that. Oh, I am, I don't have the ability to do that. So this is not my thing, Oh, I am not capable of that. So these three forms of laziness prevents us, taught us from practicing. So what are the antidotes? For the first one, the procrastination. So in Lamrim Chamo, 3 approaches were suggested. So the first one is to contemplate on the impermanence, how fragile our body is, how how certain the death is, how certain the death is, that we will die eventually, and then how uncertain the time of death is. Today we are healthy, but no one has guarantee that we will be alive tomorrow. Nobody can guarantee that, with confidence, nobody can say that I will be alive tomorrow. Nobody. Because the death is not dependent on your health situation, your age situation. Even though we normally have this, generally we have this common view that, if you are young, you will live. You will not die. If you are healthy, you will not die. But that is not the case. We know that young people die all the time. Healthy people die all the time. So it is, in order to tackle that, in order to counter the procrastination, one way is to contemplate on the impermanence. And then also contemplate on what will happen once we die. We have to take a rebirth. Body will be cremated or buried, but our consciousness still moves on. It has to take a rebirth. And there are two destinations, lower realms or higher realms. From our own experience, we can tell that the amount of virtue that we do and the amount of negative actions that we engage in, it is clear where we are going. So when we contemplate on that, the fear will arise. The fear that will motivate us to practice. So that's one way to tackle this. Another is actually, it is more or less the same with the second one, is that there's no guarantee that we will achieve human rebirth. In order to achieve human rebirth, certain causes and conditions must come together. And have we done that? So when we contemplate on these possibilities, that we may be born in lower realms instead, that will wake us up, and then it will motivate us to practice Dharma now, right now. So these are the three ways to tackle procrastination. And then to counter the second form of laziness, which is distraction. So this is basically reflecting on the advantages of practicing Dharma and disadvantages of fettering away our time, wasting our time on these worldly things. Like we talked about making money. If you are so preoccupied with making money, but when the time comes, you have to leave everything behind. It is really a waste of time. If we can bring with us all that wealth, then we can understand why we want to really spend so much time and commit all our energy and time on building our wealth. But we cannot. When the time comes, we have to leave everything. And when we fall sickness, especially the life-threatening illness, terminal illness, money cannot do much. Relatives cannot do much. Your friends cannot help. Only the virtue that you have done can help. So it is important to reflect on this whenever we find ourselves procrastinating. So spend some time reflecting on these points. That we can die any moment. I have mentioned this to you before, that even though we have this sense that next life and this life there is like a huge gap, huge distance, but there is no such distance, no such gap. The minute the breathing stops, we are in the next life. We are already in the next life's parto. So there is no such a distance there. Tonight we sleep, tomorrow we don't know. We may be already in parto. So when we looked inside and examine how we have spent our life, whether we have enough resources to ensure a good rebirth, most of us, including myself, will find that, I am not confident. I don't have much bank balance. Then it's very scary. then it will really make us practice Dharma. So that's important. So this is what he's saying. During that period, even for the sake of only a single being, may I immerse myself in the 3 lower realms, and without compromising the contact of a great Bodhisattva, may I relieve the sufferings of all lower realms. May I be able to eliminate all forms of sufferings that the beings in the lower realms are suffering. Verse 100. Tematatu nyewe sungmanam tala lamye dushi jejune sunjataja medo chaduju nyoba mebra shidi pewa sho. So this is another elaboration. Remember when we do Tonglen practice, when we send out or send forth our virtue in the form of white cloud or white light, we imagine, remember all these forms of sufferings, especially for the hell beings who are suffering from intense heat. Then we transform our light into cooling rain or cooling breeze or whatever that helps them to cool. So it's another form of this kind of prayer, that at that very instant may the guardians of hells relate to me as their spiritual teacher, and may their weapons turn into a cascade of flowers. So in the depiction of health realms, so they say that there is these gods, hell gods, which are very scary and dreadful looking, and then they are very, have this so wrathful and angry, and then they are holding all these all kinds of weapons to torture the hell beings there. So it says that when we are praying, we are making this prayer that at that very instant, may the guardians of hells, even though they are very wrathful and very aggressive looking, and suddenly they relate to me as their spiritual teacher, and then whatever the weapon, destructive weapon they are holding, may they turn into a cascade of flowers, and then free of harm, may peace and happiness prevail in the hell realm or in the hungry ghost realm, wherever the beings born there are free from harm, and then they become peaceful, and then happiness prevails. Nyanson wanyang unshi sungtomne lami lulang chanju semgede tagi tinle chuji sowarsho tala lamur sungne tembarsho. So may the beings of the lower realms too obtain clairvoyance and mantra, and may they attain human or celestial birth and generate the awakening mind. May they repay my kindness through spiritual practice, and may they take me as their teacher and upon me. So this is another form. So I feel that this, so when you do Tonglen, you can recite these verses. It is very helpful in our visualization. So here making another prayer to say that may all beings in the lower realms, they also certainly kind of achieve that clairvoyance, and then this celestial, or what is called the supernatural kind of knowledge, and because of that, and they are able to attain human rebirth, or they be born in Deva realms, celestial birth, and generate the awakening mind, which is bodhicitta. So basically making prayers that from whatever merit I have, they be free from all the sufferings they are undergoing, and on top of that, may they be able to generate bodhicitta, and then may they be able to practice Dharma and eventually achieve enlightenment. Okay, so we stop here, and then from here onwards is a completely different topic. So we will stop here, and then next week there is no class, and then we will see we will meet next week. So please follow the class schedule. Thank you very much. And today we had to go a bit beyond the time because there was some remember there was a problem with our streaming. So let's do the closing prayers. So now that you know how to dedicate our merits, let's do together. Tagi chini sabe gewa de tendan jowa kunla kangben da kebara chizun losan tabai tembe ningbo ringdo seje sho jambe bawe jedara kemba da kundo sambo teya deshin Teda kungi jesu talobje gyawa teda tamje rabdu ngo duzon shekbe gyawa tamje ngo wa kanla chodo ngaba de tagi kewe zawa digwenya zambo jeje rabdu ngo warar gis